acknowledge that it exists. But when you are in denial, you end up spinning wheels and doing things that cause more harm than good. Tonight, we have come to let this government know that they could throw up as much smoke as they like. We know how the war set. They could stand in the House of Assembly and try to play like everything is all right. But on the ground, we know better. Just the other day, I met a man I have known for quite a few years, a wonderful family man who has always provided for his family. He was walking along carrying 2 bags, and he explained that his car had broken down that morning, and he had spent his last few dollars having it towed home. Knowing where he lived, I believed he had a long distance to go, and I offered him a ride. He said, "Mrs. Griffin, I'm going right through the corner here." We had to move out of our house and put it on rent so we couldn't lose it. We now rent an apartment. I thought that was such a bold step to take to protect his family assets. We will be surprised at the steps some people are taking to survive this crisis that our government denies. Then there are so many people who came to see me or call to say that BC had turned off their lights. And even though they had paid something on the bill, they were required to pay so much more before they could enter into a payment agreement, and they just didn't have it. Some were without electricity for months and endured the indignity of some insensitive neighbors who threw chairs at them. Then there is the young girl who called to say her baby's daddy had been laid off from work, and they could not buy Pampers or milk for their baby. And the construction worker who couldn't find work and said, "I will do anything. I just need to take care of my family." And the young girl who said, "I've been laid off. My bills are piling up. But Mrs. Griffin, I don't want to return to the things I used to do to make ends meet." The list goes on and on. While the government is in denial, thousands are feeling it deep in their empty pockets and cupboards, and in our hearts when we have to tell our children, Mommy and Daddy can no longer supply their most basic needs. The old people used to say, we live in hand to mouth. Our savings are depleted. Those of us who had savings, some of us lived paycheck to paycheck, and now we're worse. But our savings are depleted. And we have robbed the grocery bill to pay the light bill, and the water bill to pay the school fees, and skimmed off the mortgage or the rent, and ducking the bank or the landlord, just so you could give the children lunch money. And Lord help you, the cable and the telephone off. But these are luxuries you can no longer afford. Is this the Bahamas we knew just short 2 years ago? You can't even wash your clothes like you used to. You heard the Aguilar the other day. He said sales at his companies have dropped 7 or 8%, from about 7 to 8%. Sadly, and I ain't talking about sending clothes to the cleaners, that's waste. Sadly, many of us are robbing Peter to pay Paul. We are feeling the pinch. But this government will have us believe things are not as bad as we know. So they go to the House of Assembly grinning and laughing and grandstanding and acting like the Bahamas started in 1992. Yeah, Carl Battle get up there talking, but the FNM this and the FNM that and what they did, as if all of a sudden the Bahamas in this region just jumped up in 1992. When we know it was our great leader under the first Progressive Liberal Party government who built the modern day Bahamas. But they throwing up smokes and screens, everything to try to deflect from their bad governance.
That's for sure.
Bahamians need to remember that when the FNM government came to office on May 2nd, 2007, they made a country with an economy so robust that for the first time in our history, it was determined that it could be decoupled from that of the United States. Say what you like, Perry Christie is a man with vision and a man with a plan. After May 2nd, 2007, everybody came to realize exactly what the Perry Christie administration meant to this country. We give concessions to foreigners, to investors from all over this world. And our own people are in the straw market. We saying, what? You too good to spend more than $5 million on. There's something wrong with that. In addition to which they saying they only making room for 400 people